NEPO kid versus LAPO kid. You must have heard of this debate on Twitter. The NEPO kids are the rich kids born with golden spoon or silver spoon, as you may call it, and while the LAPO kids are the not so rich kids from humble backgrounds, and they had to work their way to the top. And this topic came up because Femi Otedola wrote a book, and somebody said people should not fall for the grass to grace story that was written in the book, because Femi Otedola's father obviously was one of the governor of Lagos, and also cited Dangote having a rich uncle, giving about $30,000 as at then, citing that there is nothing to learn from the grass to grace story that they are trying to portray, even though they are rich kids. They cited a book, yes, and the title of this book is Outliers, right, by Malcolm Gladwell. You should read this book. Solid material. I read it in university. I lost the book, then I had to get a new one. That's why it's looking so fresh. If you check this book, one of the parts, part one, title of that part is Opportunity. That's where you spoke about the Matthew effect, and also about the 10,000 rule, the popular 10,000 rule, that before you can become an expert in the field, you have to do it for 10,000 hours. And also, even in the aviation space, to become a captain, you have to fly for 10,000 hours. What that means, you have to practice about, I think, 8 hours in about 7 years, about 6 years. You're going to clock every day. You're going to clock 10,000 hours. And yes, and there are some truths. So there are some truth, and there's a balance. So the truth is that, yes, these guys grew up from wealthy home. They had wealthy background. They had wealthy connections. Even if they go back to ground zero, the connections are enough. And in this book, there are a lot of citations. The author cited Bill Gates, he cited the Beatles, and he had some interview, had some conversation with it. But I'll just zero in on Bill Gates. So everybody knows Bill Gates, the billionaire. In this book, it was made open to us that Bill Gates actually lived a walkable distance from the University of Washington. In fact, Bill Gates' secondary school was one of the first in his city to get a computer. The parents' forum, gathered money and they got a computer, and Bill Gates and his friend would go into the computer room over the weekend to code. After learning that, Bill Gates will go to the University of Washington, because they do have some free time, to learn how to code, learn how to program. So as at the time he dropped out from Harvard, they had done about 7 to 8 years of work. So that was even over 10,000 hours of programming, and that gave him a lot of edge. Then he spoke about a timeline, and the timeline was 1975. If you're a teenager around that year and in your 20s, and you plugged into the technology, the advancement of technology, that emergence of the first internet, the .com boom, most of them are billionaires by now. And he cited a lot of examples. And I remember listening to Stephen Bartlett, Diary of CEO, listening to a podcast with the co-founder of LinkedIn, Rafe Hoffman. You can watch that interview on YouTube. And he said something while he was speaking. He said in his teenage years, they lived around Silicon Valley, went for all this startup stuff, and that's where that idea came about, creating a professional sort of Facebook. So this thing is even around that period, because LinkedIn was around 2001, 2002, Facebook was around 2004. He spoke about timelines, how that plugging into a timeline and doing the right thing around that period eventually make people, wealthier, give them that money. But then my question to a layman, someone who was not born from that background, is that, are you saying that you can't become a billionaire because you didn't come from a rich background? I think there's a balance to it now. Right, we acknowledge the fact that there were opportunities, but are you saying that you can't become a better version of yourself if you just even obey the 10,000 hour rule, putting in the right work, become an expert in the field? No matter your background, people are going to pay for that value. And the interesting thing is that we are even in an interesting season. This is 2025. Subtract 2025 from 1975. That's about 50 years. And there's always a switch. 5 years, there's a 5-year switch. There's a 10-year switch, a decade switch. There's the millennium switch that happened 1999 2000. There's also a 50-year switch, which is already happening now. We're seeing the AI revolution. So why don't you just plug into the AI revolution? I didn't come in the first version of the web, which was the first version of the web, which was only read-only website. I didn't come in the generation where people created OS, operating systems. People who created Windows OS and also the iOS. I didn't grow up in that generation. Okay, maybe I've missed the Facebook generation 2004, 2005, 2006 era, 2002 to 2006. Maybe you missed that. But now we are in the AI revolution. So why don't you just plug in into AI? There's another open floor. Plug into AI, plug into cryptocurrency, plug into cryptography, Plug into cybersecurity, let's plug into it. Another 50-year window is already there. As much as, yes, these guys might be outliers, these guys might have the opportunities that the average person do not have. We know about Bill Gates' mother was a top person. Even when they were about to reject his innovation, his mom fought for him. Many people don't even know that Steve Jobs also grew close to Silicon Valley. He actually used to gather electronics and sell. And before he started creating, he grew up around the environment. We all know that environment also contributes to the strength of your dream. What you call a dream is as a function of what you have seen. You then take what you have seen and dream about it. If you have not seen it, the dream most time is not as vivid as it should be. Do you understand? So as much as these guys are outliers, we can create the new outlier. The AI revolution, plug into AI. Become a better version of yourself. Sell your product. I don't advise not to read those books. Read those books. Read those books from these guys. I know they came from the rich background, but doesn't mean anything that you can't pick one or two. I've read books from Donald Trump. I've read books from Robert Kiyosaki. I came from an humble background. I've read Bill Gates' book, Business at the Speed of Thoughts. Interesting book. You should read it. Bill Gates predicted what we have as Jumia, what we have as hunger, ordering stuff. He predicted it. In 2001, he wrote the book in 2001. 2001. We didn't even have this second version of the web as a then. He predicted it, Business at the Speed of Thought. You should read that book. Very solid book. So what I'm trying to say is that you might not be an outlier, but you can become an outlier. Even if you are within the percentage, you can become a better part of the percentage. Thank you very much. I mean, Top Chido. Peace out, guys.